99?
99.
Getting up there.
Yeah. Almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Wait, we're five weeks away from 2 years.
Yeah. That's crazy. I remember sitting in a house on vacation talking about, hey, we should do a podcast. We're like, oh, I'm going to go buy some microphones. And you're like, I'm going to go buy some chairs.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Here we are. We're
still here.
Still here. Now we're contemplating a redesign of the chairs.
I know, a couch for the 2-year anniversary.
Well, maybe like post a 2-year anniversary.
Maybe.
I still haven't actually started looking at a couch. And I didn't even know if it would work. But whatever.
We could wheel that other couch over here and see. The green one.
For like a one day?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to see. Okay, so the topic, I don't know, hopefully it will flow right, but the last episode kind of ended, or at least we started inserting time travel into the last episode a lot. And then everything, I don't know, like, of course we watched the time travel show.
I watched a lot of time travel shows, right?
And so everything just, and then of course I had time travel dreams.
And I do too.
So everything just right now kind of lust around.
And I've been thinking about like a time travel story.
Or like written story?
Yeah, to write. I want to make a video, I make a film about it, but I don't know how realistic that is.
Yeah. Well, and the Alexander the Great thing is kind of time travel.
Yeah.
Like it's maybe more of like, this is what's interesting. The idea, like, right on the Alexander the Great, you talked about me knowing that he goes through a portal, right? And then an Egyptian prince goes through a portal, and then Alexander the Great is then him in different time and space.
Right.
Right. Now, so that's kind of like an interesting leeway into it. Time travel, but we misunderstand it because if you solely look at it from the, quantum physics standpoint and not recognize that there's such thing as expression of a soul within the concept of time travel. And you have to look at the time travel from that. Like, it is not this concept that you can tap into or like mechanize or, whatever. It is everything. If you were to design something or actually start the idea of time traveling, it is actually the expression of the soul within the space that it chooses to express with it that is the gateway into the time travel. Does that make sense?
I almost look at it as kind of like a function of consciousness.
It's a function of expression of consciousness.
Yeah, I mean,
expression of the soul is expression of your consciousness.
Elaborate.
So, as a brushstroke statement, everything in the universe is there for expression of consciousness, right? And so, if I look at, spoiler alert to the audience, at our gymnastics equipment right here, right? It stands there both from the standpoint of expression of consciousness from the person who designed it, right? Then from the person who created it, and then from the person who shipped it, from the person who, Amazon who then plopped it at our doorstep, you who took it out of the box, and the animal who uses it, right?
Right.
So even though the physical object exists and then has been moved through time and space, it is not the reflection of the physical object, it is the reflection of the consciousness expressing itself in form.
Well, okay. Well, the first of the 7 Kabbalion points is, the universe is mental. All things are mind. It's like,
okay, yeah, there
it's
you
like,
What's that?
There, which is actually really similar to, what's his name?
Tom Campbell?
Yeah, Thomas Campbell. It's similar to Thomas Campbell's premise, which his root premise, which I think I agree with, that and this, and I heard someone else on a different podcast. It was like the fundamental element of nature isn't energy or matter, it's consciousness.
It's expression of consciousness.
I'm not sure what you mean by expression. But
Yeah. I mean, consciousness is like this nebulous concept, but consciousness in its application, the consciousness exploring itself.
Right. And I don't know how that works exactly, but in my mind, there's this like underlying consciousness that permeates everything. And maybe, there is a quote real universe and matter is real, but like consciousness is like over it, sort of like God, or is it like everything here is just like literally in the mind of a creator conscious? I don't know. Or I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other options. I don't know. But day to day, it is irrelevant.
Everything is a Mandelbrot set.
Yeah. So, the scientist in me wants to know, but what is reality? What is the fundamental reality? But the rest of me is like, it doesn't matter. Like, are we living in a simulation? Are we living in base reality? It doesn't matter. Knowing one or the other, is that going to change whether or not you pay your bills and eat your food? And no, you just have to live like this is the life you get and live it. That's kind of off on a tangent, but like, so there's this fundamental consciousness, and then everything individuated kind of gets its own little fractal of that consciousness. So I've got my consciousness and you've got yours, and all the people have theirs, and the animals have theirs, and depending on how far you want to go, the rocks have theirs and the trees have theirs and everything like that, and the stars, and maybe down to the electron and stuff. I don't know. But we're all rays of that one source. So we're all connected in that sense. I don't know. That's kind of how I view it. But where I was going with that is, if everything is tied together through this consciousness, and consciousness is the true base fundamental element of the universe, but more fundamental than space, energy, matter, or time, then consciousness can move. We can move through space. We do that all the time. We can, create energy. We can manipulate energy and matter and stuff. We do that all the time. And we do move through time. We just move forward 1 second per second. So the idea that we can move forward faster or pause it or move backwards or something like that is not necessarily crazy talk to me.
Yeah, but But when you have a dream, right, and you experience your dream, it is very real.
Yes.
The sensory perception is different because you are not you're not defining.
Yeah, it's different, but it's not less real.
Yeah, it's real. And then in fact, the laws of physics almost do not apply to where to go from one scene to the next scene. You don't have to have a chain reaction.
Continuity is weird.
Yeah. And so that's, to some extent, if you think of like space and time travel, the point of the dream is to dive into consciousness experience, right? Like very visceral experience of your psyche, whether it's to process trauma or whether it's actually tune into, like higher dimensional structures or whatever it is. But the physicality breaks because your mind allows the physicality to be broken. Right. The show we watched, what was it called? It's an old show, but it just made its way into Netflix. A Lazarus Project, right?
Yeah.
And like in there, the way, so one, I think whoever wrote it, interestingly, had the rudimentary understanding of time travel actually correct, I guess, to some extent, at least in this sense. that in order for you to be able to go somewhere, like in the show, they have to give them some sort of injection that allowed them to basically shut off the portions of their brain that caused them to believe that the time travel is not acceptable.
Yeah.
And because those neuro transmitters or cortexes were shut down or like basically lessened, then the other portion of your psyche believes that it's possible. And so therefore, when you go through time travel experience, your mind, right, accepts it. But I want to kind of like emphasize that point. It is not that your mind accepts it. It's actually that is what makes it happen. Like they kind of got it in reverse. They're like, oh, we're going to design this machine. The machine is time travel. And in order for your body to actually go there, we're going to inject you with this serum. And then therefore you will be able to time travel. No, you just inject somebody with that serum. And then the machine or the device is irrelevant, right? The hurdle there is not the actual machine. It's the belief of the conscious being that they can express their consciousness elsewhere.
Right. And everybody else, whenever the way that it works in the show is they don't time travel per se, but they can reset the clock of the universe back to some checkpoint date.
No, in the second season, time travel.
Yeah. But like everybody else, all 8 billion people, save these handful, don't know that time has been reset because they can't perceive it, or they forget it. More accurately, they forget it. But once you have the serum, or if you are a natural born mutant who can do it,
you remember
it. And in fact, you eventually remember all of those resets throughout your life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's like a side point that is not related to time travel. But the mechanics of it is, believing into it. And then it's interesting because I had a dream. I say a dream, but like very, very like educational. I have very educational dreams. And so in this particular point of education, and I think I mentioned it on another podcast, but I'll just repeat it because since this is the actual time travel episode, we are going to travel in time, and the way the time we will travel in time is we would go down a subway station. Quite literally, it was like, I've been in so many subways. You go down the subway station and it feels like a subway station, and it has that air, like it's very
that smell,
very believable. And then a train comes, and all of you go onto the train, and the train cart is similar to the subways that, like, we just rode a subway in Tokyo, so like, it was more like futuristic New Yorker subway than it is a Tokyo, speed lines. And then we go there and we sit there, and then the train travels. I say this in quote, and then everybody gets off, and then you traveled in time, right? And as I was having this dream, the epiphany point of this was that the person who was my guide, so I had this guide who's guiding me through this time travel experience, says that what makes this work is everybody believing that this train takes you into X point in time and space.
But the train itself is not.
The train
necessary.
itself doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
Like, there's nothing time traveling about it other than a cumulative agreement between the entities, conscious being or conscious experiences.
Maharishi effect style?
Yeah, I guess.
Like, could you write it alone?
I don't know. But in this case, my experience was, look, here's how time travel works. And then at the end, it was like this reveal of like, oh, guess what?
Yeah.
This is how it actually works. And to me, this was like several years ago that I had this dream, and like my jaw dropped in my dream, and I woke up and I was so excited to tell you because I was like, right. And it was very viscerally, like I understood in that moment that like I viscerally understand that is the difference between magical time travel the movies portray and the actual experience of time travel. And yesterday, right,
this is crazy.
So I'm reading another version of a Tom Canyon book, another channel book. I'm reading two of them now. And so this one talks about Arcturians talking about technology. And one of them, I don't remember if it was I think it was one of them talked about, he's like, the example he said is, time travel is as simple as getting on a subway cart and moving through time and space. It literally gives that example.
Right.
And, I had this dream at least 3 or 4 years ago. So I don't know why I still need these little point of validations, because to me, that subway dream experience was quite literally the answer to it.
Yeah.
And then having, Tom written this, I don't know, years and years ago, because this is an older book. And knowing that this is the example that the Arcturians give. And of course, I connected to the Arcturians. I think I'm connected to Arcturians in general. But, they're the ones who have what we would perceive advanced technology, but they're known for their technology.
When you first told me the dream, my takeaway was that the subway car isn't necessary. And everybody can do it themselves, but it's almost like a placebo thing. It's like, oh, we're here to take this pill. It'll cure your whatever. And you take it and you get cured. But it turns out it's just a sugar pill. It's the same thing. Now you believe that you're being cured, and you end up curing yourself.
It's
now
the serum
you believe
of the show.
Sure.
Like the show, right, the show serum.
Now you believe you're time traveling, and so you are. It has nothing to do with the subway. The subway is just this, MacGuffin just to make you believe it.
Yeah. Well, it's right, but everything is that in the universe. Everything is that, right? Like whenever we have a breakthrough in technology and all of a sudden new things comes in, is because cumulatively we have marched or inched our way forward to the point where cumulative consciousness now accepts that reality as a possible truth. Right. And then, I use Steve Jobs as an example, not that he revolutionized anything, but when he like had his phone and then people in the office saw it and like they like dove into the concept. People who were designing the phone with him, right? They were like, oh my gosh, there was this magical air around us to where like this is just the most revolutionary thing. But we believed it because he brought in this magical aspect of like so in this case, what they did is they surrendered their sovereignty of hardcore programmed belief of there's no such thing as these touch phones, right? Into the dream or to the excitement or really the truth is energetic potential that he brought in, having visited India and been open to perspective of that's how reality works. And then enough people tuned in into the excitement of his potential that through the Maharaji effect, then they dove into the project, right? As the coders and programmers and project managers, they added in the cumulative effect of energetic expression or conscious interpretation that was needed in order to make his personal one-person dream a reality through the cumulative access of a group.
I mean, Steve Jobs in particular had what was referred to as his reality distortion field, and he could, basically, he obviously was a visionary, right? And he saw. I mean, you could word it as he saw into the future. In the future there will be these little magical rectangles of glass and metal that can connect to the internet and do all this stuff, and then he envisaged that and basically brought it back to 2007 or so.
Yeah. You could see it. If you want to believe that he time traveled and then he brought the concept back, yes.
Whether or not it's that or he, hadn't talked to somebody or it wasn't even his idea, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, but he had enough, call it charisma. I don't know. I think it's beyond charisma.
I think it's inertia.
Yeah, but he could
he had enough
he
energetic
could,
inertia
I mean,
to drag people into
yeah,
his
I was going to
field.
say that maybe a kind of a naive wording is that he could easily sell everybody on his idea. Oh, he's so charismatic and convincing that it's like, don't you want to revolutionize the world with making something like this?
I didn't think he was charismatic. Was he charismatic? I don't know anything about
I
him
don't know.
other than everybody said he was an asshole.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have heard reality distortion field around Steve Jobs so many times.
Reality distortion field is simply energetic inertia necessary to override other people's reality, right? If you have enough energetic inertia around you to where you have a concept and you solely believe in the concept, and somebody else's energetic field is susceptible to conversion, right?
I guess Elon has that too.
Does he?
I mean, in that he's, taken hard concepts, electric cars, rockets, stuff like that, and, really rounded up the troops around these ideas.
Yes, I guess, yes. But maybe the same thing with Steve Jobs, maybe the same thing with Elon. Because of his specialness, people surrender themselves into him quicker because he does magic. Like, right, from the technical standpoint, it's not magic. Oh, Elon makes shit happen. Therefore, if I follow Elon, chances are shit will happen. And then therefore, I'm likely to surrender my sovereignty into his inertia in order to make things happen. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So because
it's same thing as like a cult leader.
Yeah, it's not any different.
Right.
No, but everything is energy, and on Earth, in order for you to make sure that something happens, you then have to use and amplify the energy. And on Earth, to amplify the energy, you have to convert followers to have their energy be given off as their sovereignty to you.
Right.
And then through the giving of that sovereignty, you use that energy to make electric cars and fire rockets, I guess.
Or Jonestown.
Oh, what?
Or Jonestown. That was that cult that killed themselves.
Whatever. It is humans surrendering their sovereignty and, maybe as a cautionary tale, into what is actually good for them or what is net negative for them, right? But that everything is good for you, because if that is the space where you find yourself in, it is a space that you need to either learn a lesson to continue to dive into or to learn a lesson to get the fuck out of there, right?
Yeah.
And so that, everything on Earth, either it's Elon or, cult leader, it's just that. Steve Jobs is just that. We put a nice appropriate label on it going, oh, well, no, this is just your job, and you get salary, and through your salary, you get insurance and, benefits. And so he wants you to surrender your sovereignty to him, right? I know this is kind of getting off topic here, but right. His goal is to keep people around who are giving up their sovereignty. And if you're right, when he says it's either you're part of the team, meaning you give up everything, right, or you're not, and the nots very quickly go.
Yeah.
Right? And you and I have an experience with Tesla Service Center, right? We met people who were at the Tesla Service Center, and you could tell they were I'm working here, but my heart.
This is a job, but I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. And then we met a guy who was drinking the Kool-Aid, and that guy remained. And the guy who was yeah, this is a job, is gone. And you could tell that is what the requirement of working at Tesla is.
Right.
And you have to drink the Kool-Aid, and you have to be drowning in Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Which, is good for the company, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's good because, let's be honest, you and I are business owners, and we are drinking our own Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And to me...
Yeah, I mean, but, we believe in what we do isn't even it. It's
We live it.
We live it, yeah.
Yeah, and he wants people who live it.
Right.
But live it is what? Your energetically sovereignty surrendered into this concept.
Right.
We are our company. Like there's right.
Yeah, right.
There's
where's the line between me personally and the company? It's very, very blurry.
Yeah. Yes. But that is how you make things happen.
But there was a very, very hard line when I was otherwise employed. Okay, here's the line. And this is not the company. And this is, okay, I guess it's the company. But I was not drinking any of that Kool-Aid.
No, and you see, when I was employed, I had a really hard time not drinking the Kool-Aid because my idea of commitment was that.
And you had a very Kool-Aid-y company too.
Yeah, and it was. Yeah, I was drinking the Kool-Aid, and I got promoted very fast because I was drinking the Kool-Aid. But the second I see the energetic interference, like cold style.
As soon as you see what they added to the Kool-Aid?
Well, as soon as I see, the badness in the Kool-Aid, and then I realize I'm a manager who's forcing, who's pouring the Kool-Aid down people's throats, then you very quickly become disenchanted with, wait, not only am I causing other people to surrender their sovereignty into it, right? How can I be surrendering my sovereignty into something that is literally poison?
Yeah.
Right. And so then at that point, I had to leave because, otherwise it was killing me because I could not be in a space where I was not putting 120% because the 120% that I was putting in was being corrupted through the surrendering of my sovereignty. Right. And so, a side note on like just energetic interpretation, time travel is surrendering the concepts that are outside of your beliefs. You're giving up an idea that there is no such thing as time travel. You're giving up an idea that humans cannot project themselves in time and space and function outside of it.
Yeah.
Right? Which, think about it, like most people couldn't even let Steve Jobs, they wouldn't even let Steve Jobs speak out loud and have an idea of a belief that this phone can possibly be this breakthrough that replaces the BlackBerry. Do you know what I mean? Like it was just like revolutionary.
Now we laugh at the BlackBerry.
No, but right, think about then, like we were like, oh no, like this is crazy, right? How many people heard him speak and just walked away because they thought it was crazy? And that's just like technology 101 development.
Who was it? I don't remember which network it was. Sprint or AT&T or Verizon, one of them. Because Apple approached them, because the first iPhone was exclusive to that network. And in fact,
I thought it was AT&T because you and I switched to AT&T because of that.
Yeah, but we didn't go with the first iPhone. We were with the second or third iPhone.
I thought they had it for a while.
It might have been AT&T, but whatever network they approached said no.
Because they thought it was crazy.
Because Apple wanted a revenue share. We pay X dollars per month for phone service, mobile phone service, and they wanted, some percentage of that, which had never been done before.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is, there's no way. And so, and if here's this new product, new product category even. And so it's not tested and, they didn't want to be the one to set a precedent that, device makers can extort money out of the carriers and stuff like that. Well, turns out that was probably not the best idea. There's probably a lot of value in being the first one first carrier to have that. Because I imagine there are people still on, if it's AT&T, still on AT&T today because back in the day, that when they got their first iPhone, that was the only carrier.
But that's how we are.
Yeah, I don't know if it was AT&T though.
Well, we switched to AT&T in order to get the iPhone. I remember that because we were on Sprint.
We were on Sprint.
And
I
then
thought it was because we got a discount through Humana or something.
Oh, maybe. I don't remember. I don't know. Anyway, so, right, certain people will approach any concept energetically accepted or rejected, right? But with time travel, you have to energetically believe it, right? And if you think about it, that is a large concept to believe and surrender your sovereignty into in order to make it happen.
Yeah.
And our physicality is so physical, like, right? We believe in all of the structure being real that for us to start to undo, like you almost have to like start to undo the structure.
Yeah.
like in your mind, you have to start dissolving structure and recognize that the structure is a fluid syrup that you can travel through that can be perceived as solid for a set of experiences.
Yeah.
But then it can also be perceived as malleable in order to move through into a different set of experiences.
Right. I mean, Regina Meredith on Open Minds, she said this many, many times, that while it's true that there is no time and space, those are, made up constructs, in our 3D human Earth experience, we experience them. So
no, yes, but because we choose to experience them.
Yeah. But if you meditate or dream, you can have experiences that violate those constraints easily, right?
Well,
you can
if you do
remote view, you can
ayahuasca or mushrooms.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I mean,
every time I've ever done any sort of mind-altering substance, it is the time. The idea of time being a thing just completely falls away. And I am 100% convinced, sitting there on the couch, that there is no time. It's just so obvious. It is so
that's
obvious.
The first thing that is the most obvious.
Yeah.
Like besides, so, but think about that. With you don't have to do this, but with me, I have to like die and surrender into the experience of the mushroom or ayahuasca because my psyche holds on so hard to this being real. Like, so each time for me to even, just because, I have unsafety / control issues due to unsafety, like it's a mini death each time because my psyche has to metaphorically let go of structure and concepts and all of these things in order to actually dive into a reality. Yeah, but once you enter the reality, you're like, yeah, like the idea that I'm sitting on the couch experiencing time, and the time, like clockwise, like the fact that, right, because like usually we have to reference the clock ever so often in the experience, we're like, wait, was it like 20 minutes, 2 minutes, or was it like 20 hours? You just don't know.
I'm the same thing with you when you're, sleeping or meditating. I've had meditations that feel like 5 minutes and an hour goes by, and vice versa. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been so. Wait, that's only 5 minutes.
Yeah. So
it's easy to prove that perceived time and wall time, as shown by a clock, don't have anything to do with each other. That's easy to show.
Are you gonna like pipe in a clock in there since you pointed to the wall?
Pointed to a wall.
Oh, I thought you were gonna put a clock there. I'm like, wait, that's kind of unnecessary use of your editing.
No, I'm too lazy. I don't have the time for that.
Yeah. No, right. And so that's what I want to say is in order for us to start to pipe in, and I say us to start to pipe in, the military complex and the information technology and basically all the new technology development complex are already there. Like they're already using this to pipe in and then basically, in retrospect, design the technology here. Well, there you go. This is an example. So at some point, we already have a space station that is not ISS, and it basically functions as a relay station between us and other places, right? So like it is like a city. It's a huge thing, and it's like a city. And I've been on it, and I've seen it, and I can tune into it if I wanted to. And we have it. Like I know we already have it, right? Question is, when do we have it, right? And also, this is another thing: is when, in which timeline do we have it?
I was going to bring up the timeline thing.
Yeah, so that's another thing that we have as an expression. Not only there is no linear time in this scenario, we're exercising multitude of scenarios at the same time.
Right.
So in addition to being able to go through time as Tanya in 2025 in version 1.0, there's Tanya in 2025 version 5.3. Do you see what I mean? And so because of that, you can travel through time and see various points of interpretation that way, but then you also can travel in time crosswise and see various points of interpretation through multitude of the dimensional realities.
Yeah. Almost like an infinite universe type thing.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. And so in a different timeline and in the different time, linear time, we have the station. Like, I know we have it. And I see it and I know it. And like the energy that we use in order to have it, we have yet to disclose it or admit it to that we have it here. The person who runs it and then basically is responsible for creating and designing this energy has not disclosed that they have it and can have it here. And I have spent a lot of time arguing with this person that we need to bring this energy into this time and space here. And so there's a lot of contention between me and this person about that. Right? But what is happening in the meantime is in order for us as Earth in 2025 in 1.0 version that let's say that I'm calling this right now, in order for us to have this to come into fruition, the belief system by some is that we have to inch our way a little bit at a time in our technological development in order to have the masses be accustomed to a gradual shift in technological advancement.
The same thing as like UFO disclosure. It was like for forever, it was like no weather balloons or, how you saw Venus or ball lightning or whatever. And then eventually, they're like, well, okay, yeah, we have this video and we don't know what it is. We're not, they don't say it's aliens. We just say, okay, the Navy's TikTok video or whatever. It is a UFO. It is an unidentified flying object. But they're like, yeah, we don't know what it is. It's real. We don't know what it is. So they're inching toward a disclosure instead of going from, no, it's nothing to, yes, it's aliens. I think we'll get there. But in order to, I guess, make it more palatable to the populace, maybe, because I guess people will be freaked out if all of a sudden it's...
Well, they're testing the waters too. Yeah, like there was a joke on Instagram, I think I mentioned this before, but like, it was like, one slide was like, how we thought alien disclosure would be like, and like there's a husband and wife sitting on the couch and they get like a notification on Instagram or like on their phone that there's aliens. And then like they start running around, like packing and it just like chaos, right?
Yeah.
Versus the actual reality is you sit on the couch and you get the notification and you're like, and you continue to sit on the couch.
This back in the day, this was maybe the first year I had a job, a real job, and April Fool's comes around, and there's this guy at work that we wanted to play a prank on, and so I took a copy of the CNN homepage, and I changed it to where life was discovered on Mars, but I made it too believable. I was just like bacteria or something on Mars. I should have made it, completely out there. And, and I put it on his computer.
I thought they discovered bacteria on Mars already.
I don't think, no.
And then now they have.
I don't think they've discovered bacteria.
Oh, really?
They discovered water or traces or historical signs of water. So, and I put it on his computer and I'm like, oh, have you seen on CNN? They found life on Mars. And he goes and looks like, oh, okay. And I'm like, it was such a letdown. You didn't care in the least. And
but I don't know, what does that even mean to us right now, right? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
I mean, I would be really excited if we found it, but I should have made it more alien-y.
Yeah.
There's really a shock value in it.
No, so right now I think the drip amount of scenarios that has been introduced as fact or like new developments that are changing the structure of our reality vastly is amplifying. Like, so more and more of these drips are coming along and we're slowly just adjusting ourselves to these like, oh, like, oh, that's crazy, but that's cool, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're more acceptable. But I want to say is most of the souls who came here right now came here for vast, drastic change in the reality from 1.0 to 5.3. Do you know what I mean? And so the reason why we are not freaking out, most of the people are not freaking out, especially like the younger generations, is because the soul, your higher self, knows that you came here to experience these vast amounts of differences between what used to be the status quo. Let's say, if you look at time and space, like Industrial Revolution, baby boomer style, versus what you're walking into, right? And so, like, to the kids, the idea of that we're gonna be spacefaring and we're gonna have the space station that is basically a city, and then from that we're gonna use that as a leeway station in order to charge up and then go to other places or whatever. Baseline, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you say that to Annabelle right now, who's 11, she'll be like, well, we don't have that yet, right? Versus if you say that to, a dinosaur who's in their 60s or 70s or 80s right now, most of them probably
too far-fetched.
Too far-fetched.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that, so because they came here for a story, for a reality that does not have that as part of their truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is interesting because this goes back to energetic consciousness interpretation of reality, and then therefore change of reality, because more souls come here energetically pulling this reality away from its previous status quo. These drips multiplying, like more and more people are experiencing this crazy, like, oh my gosh, look at this, like this new cure for this. And now we have this plastic that like takes macroplastics out, or now, hydrogen water technology is like possible or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, no one's shocked, but it's because majority of the people coming in right now as souls, right?
Yeah.
And even some existing souls changing their frequency to the upgraded version of us.
Yeah, they're
pulling the earth away from the original status quo.
Yeah, and they don't come in or don't, maintain this concept that's not even possible, so why would I even try?
Yeah. I mean, that, and two, I would argue that they are changing the timeline or time frame or time interpretation on Earth by dragging us into a different reality. So as far as time travel in the multiverse type of a way, we're basically being dragged from one line that we used to follow into a different line that we follow, based on it, once again, the Maharishi effect of cumulative belief system, that this is how reality is working.
Right.
So we are traveling through time, but not in the linear sense, but in the sideways sense.
Right. We get access to those alternate universes where different things are possible, different things exist, different concepts. And we can pull from them and, improve this one. Oh, I mean, it's Man in the High Castle. Kind of.
When the Nazis run the world?
I mean, but Nazis run the world in one timeline.
Okay.
But then, there's others. And then,
there's another show, remember, that was slightly different, and we watched it so long ago that I don't remember. I think it was called Counterpart. It had that actor that I like, the older actor.
Oh, J.K. Simmons?
Yeah.
J.R. Simmons? J.K. Simmons?
I don't remember. Do you remember? Like, it was also something with parallel
that was
world.
That was a really good one. There was they discovered or created a little portal in the basement of some laboratory where
which is not that much different than my High Castle, because it was also in the basement of something, right?
Well, that was different.
Okay.
In Man in the High Castle, all these different realities already exist, and they tried to make a machine to cross into a different one. Whereas in Counterpart, some science experiment gone awry created this portal where you walk basically down this corridor, and then you walk up, but you're in the same building but in the other universe. And so the universe had split into A and B, which is the original. That question doesn't even make sense, right? They split. There is no original.
Oh,
And
and that's the one where the one of them has a pandemic, and this was before our COVID.
Yes. One of these worlds has a pandemic
where everyone's wearing blue masks.
Yeah, and it kills off some significant part of the population and whatever, and
more than it killed here.
Yeah, and they they do everything they can to not let it go through, and it's and there's some sort of government agency that only lets certain agents through and this and that. It was a really good show.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, what I remembered was
we watched it right after COVID, or maybe during COVID.
No, we watched it before COVID, because I remember thinking, shit, that show literally predicted COVID.
I thought we watched it during or after COVID.
No, it was before.
Oh, yeah?
Because I was thinking, because later I remember thinking, wait, that was literally COVID. Like, that is how we look like.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure it was before. Either way, yeah, right. So, that sense,
J.K. Simmons.
In that sense, that was a parallel universe within the same idea of time and space.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to this. So this is like a horizontal movement as opposed to vertical movement, right? If you had to put like idea of like,
yeah.
But there's no such thing as horizontal to vertical. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That is just like for me to describe like, oh, you're moving from year 1800 to year 3000 as a vertical movement, and you're just moving within the year 2025 as a horizontal movement.
Yeah, that show and also the Lazarus Project brought up the interesting thing of like, oh, if you meet yourself from a future version of yourself, from an alternate reality version of yourself, some people, it's like their instinct is I'm gonna shoot the other me.
Yeah, I don't know,
which is bizarre. But that
but they're like agents, so I don't know if that
both
mindset is.
Both shows kind of brought it up because it's like, what do you do if you meet, Bizarro you? What does that interaction look like?
Yeah, I don't
know.
I guess I'm not a trigger happy person.
Yeah, the idea that it's anything other than what can we learn from each other?
Yeah,
is strange to me, but
yeah. I remember you had a dream a long time ago where you saw me, and it was in this house.
Yeah, I was right at that door.
Yeah, and then I was surprised to see you, and then you figured out that you must be like, you thought you were dead in that version of reality.
Yeah.
Right, but like, I think that was like
that wasn't a dream. That was a vision. That was not.
Oh, that was not a dream.
It was not a dream.
Okay.
That was like when I really early when I just started doing meditation. Yeah, it was super duper real. I just thought about that the other day.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and
because it's that double door is where it was.
Is it dirty out there?
I'm trying to remember if I was inside or I was out. I think I was outside. You were inside, and I was coming in. It was short. It was just a couple seconds, but it was super.
Yeah, no, but they are super real, right? Like the experiences where you pipe into a different version of reality, regardless on X or Y scale that you're seeking. It's super real. And the other day I had an experience where I woke up, and so one, I think as we're recording this is like beginning of August of 25. Right now, everybody's, well, at least those who are meant to be moving, perception of time and space is becoming a little wobbly. Like it is becoming open to interpretation, and weird things are happening right now. And so like the fact that the time and space is this fluid nature of interpretation is going to become more and more obvious to like a normal human being who has never even thought about it. Like there will be occurrences and instances happening that will make you question, like, wait, like that doesn't actually make sense if I look at it from the old perspective. But what I want to say is the idea or what's actually happening is your reality is being dragged from the cumulative Maharaja effect perception out into a new periphery. And honestly, if you're not listening to this podcast, then it's not happening to you. So, yeah. And so the other night, because of all of this, like this open format interpretation of time and space, I'm laying there in the morning, like before I wake up, and you're kind of in that subdued state where you're a little open to extrasensory perception. And I saw at least 4 different versions of plausible reality.
Oh yeah.
That I could have been facing. And like in one version, I was actually got up like I wanted to, and I'm running, like, going for a run. And I saw that version, and then I knew you were running too. Another version, I'm lazy in bed, just like I was. And then you are running, which was the reality. Another version is you're in bed next to me, and I'm like waking up, and then you're rubbing me, which you do a lot. So none of those were like crazy versions. But the last one, it was a little bit crazier. And you're in bed next to me, and you were on your phone for a second, and then later you were speaking to me in German, which that one like
right.
rang some like, like heightened alert bells, because 1, I have a trauma with German language.
2, I don't speak German.
Yeah, and you don't speak German. And then, 3, like the idea of an alternate reality where you're speaking German to me, like, I don't know.
A little unsettling.
Right? Like, and I think it is because through my trauma, I associate speaking German in relation to World War II and Nazis taking over.
Godwin's law invoked.
Yeah, right. And so, like, it was just shocking. Like, and I wasn't bothered by it in that reality, but when I registered in this reality, I'm like, that doesn't seem right. And so, for some reason, if nothing else, I have and anytime we travel and I hear German, like, we travel a lot and I hear German speakers, it's just it's not a reaction.
Not a reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and Russian is a very harsh language. But I think just through my trauma, German, after World War II in Ukraine is just just a thing.
Yeah.
That I obviously have to, and Man in a High Castle.
A lot of German accents, at least.
Well, no, Man in a High Castle is literally a version of that reality. And so it was not lost on me that what piped into my dream as a version of a reality where you're speaking to me German.
No, when you first told me that, I'm like, oh, that sounds very Man in the High Castle-y.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I was going to say that the fact that people remember past lives and stuff feels time travel-y to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's this. Here's this continuity of consciousness between generations. You could think of it like that. I guess you can also think of it as generational, like literally your ancestors. There is some there's certainly trauma passed down generationally, and so I think trauma is a function of consciousness. So clearly, there is consciousness passed down, probably above and beyond the trauma. But past lives, these are different, sometimes overlapping experiences. Maybe they're in different realities or universes. I don't know. Maybe not. I'm not quite sure. But that is, that's somewhere in the time travel bucket to me.
Yeah. Well, if nothing else, and this is how I interpret it, because I remember so many of my lifetimes. And when I tune into it, right, like I usually tune into it in a meditative state, right? I'm able to tune into it, and to begin with, without realizing it, is because later I'm like, oh, that's how I'm tuning into it, is because I'm leaving the idea that they are from the past or from the future.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just tuning into a vibratory frequency of myself, of where I am interpreted, or my consciousness is being interpreted as somebody or something else.
Yeah, you almost... on one hand, it's a memory, because I can remember things in, kind of an arbitrary order, just like I can remember, a year ago things in an arbitrary order. But on the other hand, I can kind of plop myself into that experience and, you know, open my eyes and look around and kind of like be like this observer, almost literally travel there.
Yeah.
Kind of in a remote viewing sense, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it almost feels like you can interact with it more than remote viewing doesn't feel very interacty. It feels more, you know, magic eyeballs floating around.
Yeah.
But this feels more like, oh, I can go there and I could maybe even influence it.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way, there is this concept of taking your experiences in the past, usually traumatic, negative experiences of the past, and like going through the exercise of like going back and reliving it and then changing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, you know, maybe you were abused or whatever. Whatever it is, and you would go back and you would relive it, but you would relive it differently. You would do something different. You would escape the situation. You would, you know, stand up. Whatever it is, you know, you would
rewrite the past.
And in doing so, you can rewrite your neural pathways into, to some extent, alleviating that trauma. But you know, and you know, the obvious argument is, yeah, but you're not actually changing the past. You're just, are you? Are you not? If you're changing your memory and you're changing the trauma, functionally, you're rewriting the past.
Mm-hmm. If you're able to tune in into the energetic lock that keeps that reality there,
yeah,
that's what the key is.
The other, the 1 or 2 podcasts ago, I was talking about how, you know, I used to wake up early on Saturday mornings and eat my Cheerios, just watching Scooby-Doo, shoving them in my face. And I just went there, and it was just like, oh my gosh, I am there. I can get up and I can walk around that house, just like I'm there. And, you know, it's weird because it's not, you know, the house is, you know, 3-4 owners later, it looks nothing. It's completely different colors, different materials, different carpet, different walls, different, you know, it's not the same house. So I'm going to a place in a time when I do that, and it is ridiculously real.
Yeah.
It is incredibly, it hits all the senses. I know what it smells like. I know what it feels like. I know what it looks like.
Well, the sensory, right? Have you noticed this? The sensory perception has expanded itself outside of time and space, right? And I think about that. If that happens, right? If what keeps us locked in time and space is our sensory perception being so married to the physicality that we don't allow the concept of time and space to be fluid into our psyche, if we can expand our sensory perception into different time and space, then our psyche starts to become more comfortable to the open idea of interpretation of time and space. And so through that inevitable shift within your consciousness, you're actually opening, right? So like how we're being dragged into a different reality, you're actually energetically surrendering your sovereignty into a concept where you're allowing the reality to shift. So you're participating in the shift by, you know, you and I just through this conversation being open to the fact that, oh no, I am interpreting time and space, and it's visceral, it is physical, it is scent driven, it is touch driven, it is like frequency driven. You can feel the frequency of that space. The truth is the sense, the vision, the touch, all the senses are actually frequencies, right? They're we interpret them as physicalities and smells and whatnot, but they're specific nuanced vibratory field of frequencies that has a very specific signature.
Yeah.
And so you're allowing yourself to realize that frequency is something you can tune into. And then this is the key to time travel. When you tune into that frequency, expand into your senses. Do you see what I mean? That's what the travel is.
Yeah.
It's an energetic signature. Like this is an example that I'm always able to give. So I had a lifetime in Egypt, and I was Syrian, or at least traveled through the Syrian portal. I don't remember the details. I think I was actually Syrian, and I just used the Syrian portal to travel to Syria. But I remember, I call it blooping, just because that was the word that came up in my novice state of interpretation. I remember being Syrian, and I remember not Syrian, but Syrian. I remember being in Egypt, and I remember setting up energetic structures there. But then anytime I wanted to go home, I would bloop, which means I would tune into the frequency of my home, right? And I would tune in so much to the point where, now, of course, I was not a three-dimensional being. So in this case, it's super easy for me because I'm already multidimensional. I was able to tune into it so much as a frequency that I can expand my senses into that space. And that's what made the bloop happen, right? You draw on so much of that frequency in, which is like how we interpret it as humans in three-dimensional space, is an emotional connection, right? That is what frequency dive or interpretation is, right? Like we emotionally feel the vastness. And so I emotionally felt the frequency of the space so much that my emotional field expanded its sensory perception into that place so much then that I blooped. I automatically blooped. And so that's right. You don't need a machine to time travel. You just need to know how to tune into a frequency that is an address in this case, right? It's an address, but it's an address through an emotional relay station, and you believe in it so much. But as a fifth-dimensional being, you would never not believe in it. Do you know what I mean? But in 3D, we do not believe in it. But in our case, we would have to override the structure that causes us not to believe in it. And then basically through that emotional influx, bloop ourselves into that space.
Yeah.
Because the senses have taken over all cognitive, logical interpretation of not. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the reason why we remember our past lives and the initial moment that takes you into your past life, which is really just another variant of yourself interpreting reality. The reason why we're able to tune into it, if you go through a professional past life regression or you do it yourself, it's super easy, is because you tune into the moment of a huge emotional influx. Right? Think about it. Anytime you find a lifetime that you're like, oh, I most definitely had this lifetime, is because the place where you tune in has a huge energetic signature. It's either you're dying, or you're being raped, or you're giving childbirth, or you're having an orgasm, or falling in love. Yeah, sure. Whatever. I see you. You went to the low, went to orgasm. But do you know what I mean? It is a huge energetic influx that quite literally overrides your logical mind in this pretend body. That is not the case. There's no such thing as me in another time and space. Do you see what I mean? But that's what it is in 3D, we're here to experience frequency through intense emotion.
Yeah. And
intense emotion is quite literally gateway into time travel.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like life-threatening, or like death,
right.
or childbirth.
It could be a beautiful sunset.
Yeah, but it has to have you first tune into it through a signature of intense emotion.
Yeah.
So whenever you saw me and the version of whatever this was, there was some sort of intense emotion that, right? Like if you wanted to explore that line of interpretation, the reason why you were drawn to that particular moment is because there was an intense emotion that drew you there. There was something.
Yeah. I was going to say one more thing about those Saturday morning cartoon days. So while I can go there and I can, stand up and walk around and explore, and this is the house I grew up in, so I'm intimately familiar with it. I can also change it. Like, yeah, I can interact with it. I could go grab a book off the shelf, but I can I can change it to where, the walls aren't wood panel brown anymore. The walls are blue. And I can just do that. And, it's like there's a different universe that's exactly the same, except the walls are blue instead of brown. And I can just hop between those. And I can change it to where it's not a, 1980s, CRT TV. It's a, modern, LCD TV, which obviously didn't exist back then. But, yeah, I can go there. It's really interesting.
Yeah, but how real and how visceral it feels, right? Like it feels beyond. Right now, it feels extremely real.
Very real. Very, very real.
Yeah. Like this is just an example from like a couple of days ago. Apple is releasing iOS 26, right, for their new phones. I'm assuming new phones coming up September.
Hope so.
Right, but in the meantime, they have all the betas of iOS 26 on there, right? And the newest release has the icons or like the notification screens or whatever they are, right, be opaquely glass-like, right? And I thought, think about this, right? To begin with, for the iPhone to have an interface, right? We needed to have it very literally and more physical than not, right? Like to open the phone, to unlock the phone, we literally had to slide a physically looking button, right? And still to dial the numbers, we have to click. For the most part, if you're still using the dial numbers as opposed to call Bob or whatever, some people still need that physicality to believe that pushing these buttons in this order will call Bob, right? But from 2009 until now, right? How visceral the experience with physicality is, as opposed to how nebulous it is starting to kind of open up, right?
Yeah. iOS 7, which was forever ago. I think it was iOS 7 when they went to that flat. They changed it from a skeuomorphic, like buttons. A button looks like a button, to a button is just a word that might be a different color, and you touch the word to do it. Almost like a link on a webpage. And that was just shocking and very controversial to people because I miss my buttons that look like buttons.
No, but right, but what I'm saying is, right, their goal to begin with, right, if they went into a thought process of what the future is, and then retroactively, how do we get there? And let's take the old way approach of slowly inching our way towards this reality, which a lot of people do. Then you would gradually adjust the masses, right, to surrender their sovereignty into the new features that will eventually end up to the point where, there is a reality where we're holding what looks like a piece of glass. And then if there is a video or if there is a phone call, it's like literally like a holographic mini person speaking to you or whatever.
I mean, there are so many futuristic shows and movies. A phone is not an opaque thing like this. It is a literal sheet of glass, and you can see through it and stuff, which I've never liked because I'm like, it's going to be, hard to read.
But in iOS 26, they're quite literally inching their way towards you, slowly accepting that as reality. Yeah. And, by iOS 30, we have opaque glass.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So that is how technological development looks like in the retrospect to time and space, and adapting something that already exists, and then they're retroactively creating it and bringing through Maharaji effect the masses into this reality. Yeah. Same thing with the space station, right? Like we're slowly inching our way to like these small talks. Remember years ago we went to some observatory, or what are they called? Planetariums Do you remember we went to a planetarium at the? I want to say it was in Kentucky around the lakes.
Yeah.
And then we just happened to stumble upon it, and there was some like planetarium presentation about like the future of space exploration and how sooner or later we are going to be like mining asteroids, and there's like, very visceral interpretation of how that looks like, right? Mm-hmm. And enough people saw that video at the planetariums, because I'm sure it's distributed, right, to where now we're like, well, yeah, obviously we're going to be mining asteroids, and that there's just something that we'll be doing.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, to begin with, it was like
this is sales pitch.
Some sort, one person's like, hey, there's all kinds of lithium and whatever else we need on asteroids. Let's go get it from there. And everyone else thinks that's crazy because we don't have the rockets, we don't have the tools. How are we going to get it back? Blah blah blah. All these reasons why it won't work. But persevere. Eventually, the technology will catch up or be invented in order to make it happen. Right. The idea of putting Starlink satellites in space. Go back 20 years. That's crazy. I want to put 40,000 satellites in space to make an internet for the world. It's insane. Can never be done. How are you going to launch this many? How are you going to make this many? How is it going to? Can't be done. Well, guess what? It's done.
Yeah. Well, everybody who said it can't be done basically got fired.
Yeah.
Right. Because quite literally in that instance, instead of surrendering their sovereignty into the belief thereof, they're actually dragging the density out of it. Right. So it's a net negative. It's a cost factor.
Yeah.
And the drag of density is very intense.
Yeah.
If you have enough people dragging you away from the ethereal density of something.
Yeah.
The hardcore density of physicality offsets that by tenfold.
Yeah. I mean, that's not just for that, but for anything in life. If you have people around you who are vibrating something the opposite of what you are or what you want, you probably shouldn't be around them too much.
Well, no. But I want to say is that is more powerful as far as affecting the physicality, because you are in the 3-dimensional space, in essence, trying to make 5th-dimensional reality the future, right? Like, do you see what I mean? A dream a future. You're trying to take a dream and solidify it into 3D, which is a lot more work than 3D dragging you back down into 3D.
Yes, but I mean, just for people who aren't building spaceships, just for people living their life, if you could call them energy vampires around you.
Yeah, but besides the vampire, just a Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, or someone who's Yeah.
Yeah. No, right. We are into a lot of things to where as we venture into, like, say, actually business, like physical business on Earth, right? Whenever we go into something, I almost do not want to know all of the possible ways it could go wrong, because I know I can invent my own reality that functions outside of this set of circumstances.
I'm also cautious, and I'm like, there's some amount of like due diligence, but I don't want to do too much, because I don't want to. The example that is always given, and I just always repeat it, is the Collison brothers who started Stripe. They started Stripe, and like, if you were to talk to anybody back when Stripe started, it's like, oh, how hard would it be to make a company that interacts with all the different banks and interacts with all the different credit card networks, and handles the fraud detection and all this stuff. It's like an insurmountable task back in 2005, 2010, whenever it was. It like can't be done. It's so much work and so much bureaucracy and regulation, whatever. It's, you're going into like one of the most heavily regulated industries. It's impossible. Any reasonable person would have said that is impossible. But they either didn't know, didn't appreciate, didn't understand, or just purposefully, we're going to do it. Don't tell me how hard it is. We're going to do it. And ta-da, Stripe now processes, I forget how many billions of dollars of stuff every year. It's immense. They did it, right? They succeeded.
Yeah, but like, They're young enough to where they are not pre-programmed for failure.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. That's why, entrepreneurs who succeed sometimes are so young, is because they don't have enough pre-programmed.
This is hard.
This is
too hard.
This is too hard, right?
Yeah.
Which is difficult. Like as you and I get older and we get more stagnant in our naiveness, like we become more rigid. Like, oh, that's not how the world works, right? Which is the worst thing you could possibly say.
It is. I mean,
like I tell you, like, do not become a curmudgeonly old man, because the rigidness dictates a reality, right? The reason why the dinosaurs are dying off is because they cannot stay in the vibratory frequency of this reality because of their rigidness of like, oh, that's not the way things work.
Right. No, I mean, we looked at that house a month or two ago, and it was in bad shape. And, we're like, it was weird because we keep going back and forth between, we can do it, which is true. We could do it.
I still think, I don't know. I'm still,
and, oh, that's too much, which may also be true because it was really bad. Really, really, really bad.
Yeah. Like part of me just wanted to dive in into like.
We could do it. But then it's like, well, then the bad thing is I started going down do I want to commit future Elliot and future Tanya and future dollars and future time to this? And, I'm obviously blowing up how much time it would be and how much money it would be and how much effort
we always blow it up.
We always blow it up. It'll take, what do we say? It would take 3 years to finish it. And, we've watched some documentary thing on these kids. They were kids.
But that's why they made it work, because there were kids.
Who he was in.
Oh, this is also on Netflix, or is it Amazon Prime?
I don't know. I'll put a link in the show notes. He went to an auction because he was trying to buy a flat in
Glasgow.
And
it was Glasgow, right?
Somewhere in
I think it was
Scotland.
Glasgow.
And he bid on the wrong auction, and so instead of buying the flat, they accidentally bought this castle house.
It's not a castle. It's just a shitty ass house.
Yeah, an old house, but
like in a different city.
It's should be condemned, right? There's no roof. It's in shambles, falling apart.
Yeah.
There's no floor.
Yeah.
It's like
it was bad.
It was bad.
Everybody said that this is not something to restore.
This is a knock it down and build a new house there level.
Yeah.
House.
Yeah. But he paid too much for that. Like he paid too much for the cost of the tear down and then complete rebuild.
Yeah. And so, they're young and naive, which is a positive thing in this capacity. And, they turned it into a little internet sensation, and they got, a bunch of friends and fans to come over and volunteer time and tools and skills and maybe money. And sure enough, they rebuilt this house and they lived there, and they, Airbnb out a room or a wing of it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The house we looked at wasn't that bad. And these two people did it.
Yeah, but like
it helps that he is a carpenter's apprentice and his father is a master carpenter. That helps.
Yeah, but then like they turn into an internet sensation, and so they have free labor coming and living with them.
Yeah,
and the condition under which they did it, like
they're like, okay, we just rented or bought a little RV trailer caravan thing, and it's just parked on the property, and they just lived there. And it's like, oh yeah, we just go a couple of weeks without a shower, and every now and then we go bathe in the river or whatever it is. It's like, oh my gosh.
So yeah, I think like you're on my standards about showering.
Yeah.
See, let's be honest. The standards is what causes you to be locked into a reality where you're limiting your possibility. You're collapsing your reality into this finite expression.
How hard is it? It's as hard as you think it's going to be.
Yeah. And and to me, through survival techniques, I have unfortunately adapted this idea that like, oh, well, guess what? We'll just imagine the worst case scenario. I will calm myself down by going, okay, if this is the worst case scenario, I'm okay with it. But guess what? I'm gonna do better than that.
Right. I mean, there is this idea of, hope for the best, plan for the worst.
Yeah, but plan for the worst sometimes energetically has you not dive into something that could be a good potential.
I mean,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the whole Boy Scout motto is literally be prepared, which, from it's like a different mindset from a different era. It's like things are going to go wrong. Make sure that you got,
Which is the same thing you did with mail.
Yeah. It's things are going to go wrong. Make sure you've got your first aid kit and you've got your matches and you've got your whatever you need to survive. You got to survive.
I think the Boy Scouts is same thing as religion, which is basically just programming of the masses to be in fear.
Right. It's, if you get plopped in the middle of the woods, okay, then maybe that training is useful, but we're not plopped in the middle of the woods. And it rewires you into this survival mindset versus a thrive mindset.
Yeah. And I think from the rudimentary standpoint, you can go, oh, well, no, it's just teaching you all of these skills in case you need it, which is fine. Which is fine. But I think there's a fine line between you take little kids and you program into fear.
Right. I mean, did I learn a lot of useful, handy things that I still use to this day from Boy Scouts? Yes. Not, whenever I carry a knife, I carry it the way I was taught in Boy Scouts. I carry, I don't carry it like this. You carry it like that. And if you fall carrying a knife, you're not going to hurt yourself. There's all kinds of little tips and tricks that I learned that are, I guess, useful, right? But it's how much you marry the concept of things are going to go wrong. How do I mitigate that?
Yeah, you mitigate.
Versus
you control
it's like being scared versus being careful. You don't have to be scared of being hit by a car, but you do have to be careful and look both ways before you cross the street.
Yeah.
It's the same concept, but it's two different interpretations of it. One is a fear-based and one is not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, in my book, he said, like, whenever you come onto Earth and he doesn't say this. This is me paraphrasing it based on my realities. When we come into Earth, we're here to have a three-dimensional experience with three-dimensionally understanding of the concepts based on the social norms, right? And you come in here and you learn these generalized norms, right? And, back in the olden days, you really learned them and you married them and then you really propagated them as a reality. Or in this case, you can learn the loose rules of the societal interpretation, right? To fit in and to start resonate with this reality, but then you don't marry anything at all.
I mean, the norms have changed over time.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever.
But how much you dive into the one and only way, like this is the one way on the highway.
Yeah, I mean,
do you know what I mean?
Imagine, ancient Greece versus Middle Age Europe versus, today. Those standards and norms are wildly different. But how, right? In the Middle Ages, when the church is ruling everything with their iron fist, if you don't fall into the norms, you're burned at the stake or something.
Yeah. So you at least pretend to.
And anybody who was outside of that was, Galileo, right? Was, excommunicated and
well, he wasn't even trying to threaten the church.
He wasn't trying to threaten the church.
Yeah, he just wanted to expand the conscious view of the universe.
Yeah, he's like, no, look, this is how reality is, but that is threatening to the church.
Yeah.
So he isn't even trying to rock the boat. He's just trying to enlighten people.
Yeah.
But that's dangerous. Anyway, but yeah, now, you can go, okay, well, here is what reality, society, whatever is. And I can play the game. I don't have to be that, but I can play the game.
Or you can even see the game is like, here's the possible interpretation of reality here.
Yeah.
But I don't have to interpret reality that way.
Right. I can use that interpretation when it's useful.
Yes.
It's like a mental model. It's like, the mental model of, everybody has a mental model of how an air conditioning in a house works, and or the gas pedal in a car. Is that how it works? No, it really isn't. It's like, oh, I push this down and it makes it go faster. Yes, but what it's really doing in the gas car, it's opening up the throttle body and it's injecting more gas, and it's changing the timing. That's what's really happening. But the mental model is a very, very simplified version of that, which is not accurate, but it is useful. Because if nobody can how does an LED light work? I don't know. Through magic, electricity turns into light. I don't know. That's my mental model. And that's good enough. I don't need to know how LED lights work or how, gas engines work or whatever. In the same way, you can have a mental model of how these different aspects of society work that are maybe not accurate, and maybe you don't have to marry them, and maybe you don't even have to believe them, but they're useful to get through society without becoming absorbed in it, without marrying that reality, which would limit you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one, it limits you, but at some point, it also makes you feel completely alienated and alone. Because if you marry the societal views too much, right? This is going on a whole other subject. And that is not the essence of you that came here to experience or facilitate. And you feel this huge disconnect. I'm like, wait, I feel other things, but this seems to be the norm. And if you think you need to apply to that norm and then belong to that norm, otherwise you feel alone and scared, you're not going to last on Earth for too long.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Most of the young people come here with the goal of facilitating a huge amount of change that completely undermines the current norms.
Right.
And if they don't have this understanding of like, oh, wait, I came here to change the status quo. So yeah, it's okay to say, fuck the status quo, or take the status quo and go, you know what? This is how it used to be. It is no longer how it's going to be. And I came here to change it. And that gives you life purpose. In fact, it actually tunes you into the higher purpose that you came here. And in fact, under which way you'll be able to survive in this frequency.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that understanding, you're exiting out. Cognitive experience, going back to the time and space, I guess, is your programmed reality. And your programmed reality can either come out of social norms and social pre-programming and social presets, or you can break the cycle and realize that that is what that is. The social preset there is something easy for you to dive into, to follow a path that is familiar to both /you in order to propagate the same resonance into the future.
Yeah.
Or you can simply tune into any resonance into any future and basically
pick your own.
And then inevitably that can be interpreted as jumping time and space, or quite literally dragging in what's happening right now, or dragging the cumulative time and space as a collective consciousness into a different reality. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if that is a technically time and space episode, or it was a combination of time and space and
career
analyzing
advice. What? And career advice.
Well, no, or analyzing, right? I think it's analyzing where the time and space has set us in.
Yeah.
And then how do we open the perspective of that preset, social preset, and recognize that the social preset was there because Earth resonated with specific presets. And now Earth is no longer resonating with those presets.
Right.
And so like all of these new technologies that are coming up right now is the evidence of that. We're no longer resonating with the old preset. Like in your and my case, ever for the last 20 years since we've been running our own companies, right? But let's be honest, there was still this idea of like, oh, I do X and then X follows the X. And there are these
as
industry jobs.
As open and forward thinking as we might be, we're still locked into a whole lot of things that we don't even
dinosaur way of thinking.
Dinosaur ways of thinking.
Yeah.
That the new kids are like, what's going on, boomer?
Yeah. Well, there you go. Like, you're not going to like this, but we just had an argument, and not an argument, but I pointed out to you your dinosaur way of being, right? We talked about, for some reason, we started talking about what is the definition of a dial tone.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I grew up with I grew up, I don't remember if I had a party line or not, but basically there was a concept when the phones first invented, I don't know, but at some point phones shared a line and like you had your number.
My dad grew up with that.
And somebody else had a phone. And if you picked up somebody else who was usually somewhere in the proximity of you, right? Like, because your phone lines were tied together, was using that same line. And if they were using it, you would just hang up and wait.
Because you could hear them.
Yeah, you could hear them talk. You can literally spy on them. And then you would just hang up and wait for them to finish the conversation and then hang up. And then when you heard what you would call the dial tone, then you know you can start dialing because the line was open, right? So it's like multiple people sharing a line.
Yeah.
In Ukraine, we did not have a party. I don't think we had a party line. Or maybe we did it, then at some point we didn't. But we had a phone, which was not normal but anybody on the street. So we were like the rich people with a phone, even though we were not rich. But we had a phone and, I had the dial tone and I would pick up and then, I grew up in Ukraine.
Right. Our kids wouldn't even know what this means.
Well, no, now they do because we traveled to Cambodia and they had an old phone and so they played with it. Right. But we would, I would pick up the line and then because I grew up in Ukraine, the definitions were different, but you called that a dial tone, right? You knew, or at least you would push the button on the handset and then before you started dialing, you knew that you could start dialing because there was a dial tone.
Yes.
Now we're old. And so you grew up with the definition for a dial tone to be the thing that you heard before you started pushing the buttons to dial a number.
Right.
And then when you pushed the last button, then it would go into a ring and then you had that as a ring tone.
That is called a ringing tone.
Ringing tone, right? So that was your definition. And the argument you and I had recently is my point was that has changed. The definitions have changed. And you argued with me for a full day until you realized that you're wrong, obviously. But
kids these days
never grew up with a landline.
Yeah.
And so there's no such thing as picking up the phone and see if you can start dialing.
Hearing the quote dial tone of a picked up landline before any numbers have been pressed.
Yeah. So they just start dialing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You pick up a phone, you press a bunch of numbers, and you hit the call button, and
then you hear a dial tone.
Right.
You hear a dial.
What I would call a ringing tone.
Now they're calling
everybody
a dial
else calls that a dial tone.
Yes.
And that was this like, what the fuck has happened moment to me? Because I'm like, no. You look up dial tone on Wikipedia. It agrees with me. Yeah.
Yeah. But the kids no longer apply to that definition. To them, that is a dial because you're dialing at that point.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
And to them, a ring tone is what happens when somebody rings you. When they call you.
No, yeah.
You say, and Apple has a program as a pick your ringtone.
Yeah, ringtone, but a ringing tone.
Okay, yeah, but that's not even a thing.
Yeah.
Right? That is not even a thing. So in this example, this is just like a couple of days ago, or maybe a week ago, you're referencing in archaic terms that are dinosaur terms that no longer apply and no one in the world is using.
They've been redefined by society.
Yeah. And so now...
And I'm stuck in the old dinosaur ways of...
But with
get off my lawn.
Yeah, but with you, through trauma processing, you were unable to accept a new way of being because you needed to stay in the old way of being in order to feel safe.
Yeah.
Hence, that is what's happening. The definition of all reality, as simple as including the definition what it means to dial somebody or to ring somebody or to have a ringtone or have a dial tone, has just changed. Like the same term means something different now. And the new age people who are not going to die off into the dinosaur age are okay with it constantly changing.
Yeah. Not
even knowing how it used to be, not being married to how this is how it's going to be forward. The definitions are fluid. The reality is fluid.
Yeah.
And everybody who's dying off cannot accept reality being fluid.
Right. Like Ohio used to be a state and now it means something. Sigma, skibbity, Ohio, something.
Sure.
I don't even know what it means.
Right. But when old people complain about the youngings inventing new languages, a new term, and in fact changing them almost like not even a year at a time, like 3 or 4 months at a time.
Things get redefined. Like our kids just use terms that I'm like, I don't even know what this means. And we have to,
Yeah, but there will be a definition, or there will be a word that becomes something that everybody uses, this cumulative agrees to the new meaning of it. It becomes an internet sensation or like a meme sensation,
Yeah.
and it might go into the Urban Dictionary, but it doesn't actually log itself into anything. But this is a cumulative reality that we all agreed for. And then within 2 or 3 months, time said we can drop it and then have a new word that communicates that same concept but maybe redefined slightly.
Right. No, I think it was yesterday, as Aiden was talking about whatever, and he was using all these words that I'm like, I can figure out what it means in context, but alone I would have no idea what this word means. I'm like, if I were to somehow teleport back and assume the body of an 18-year-old person, I don't even know how I could communicate with anybody. I would just sound so weird. Because I would talk like this. I wouldn't, know right? It would be weird. It would be like some sort of 22 Jump Street situation.
But stagnancy of the ways of being and how married we are and for how long we're married to our old ways of being communicates how quickly we're shifting the timelines into ultimate adjustments, into severe changes that are vastly different than the rest of the reality. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that speaks for adjustment of Earth into a vastly different interpretation. Like we're leaving the dimensionality of stagnation and density, and we're entering into open formatting, which most people don't realize, but the only people that are realizing are the people who are feeling the discomfort of this density adjusting itself to something lighter and lighter and lighter. And so whenever they have to drop density, right, it is such a difficult process for someone who is stuck there that it is life-threatening to them. Like right with you, that conversation about changing definitions of what a dial tone means was life-threatening.
Yeah.
Because you concretify the need for things to be as they are.
It was part of my identity.
Yeah. Well, in order to feel safe.
Yeah.
Right. And the safety signifies that you have married density in order to continue to exist in a finite interpretation of reality, versus where we're going is an infinite interpretation of reality, and density cannot hold space.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to it's the old way or the highway, basically. Yeah. And the highway is not a one-way road. It is just like infinite amount of roads. Do you know what I mean? And we're adjusting into that so quickly that, to loop it back into time and space, traveling in time and space will be a possibility because we're not married to any concept in density. I don't know if that's to loop it back or not. But yeah, it is much bigger. It is so much bigger than just our idea of what our idea of time and space was, right? Like humanity has redefined itself in its interpretation, in its cognitive expression. And the cognitive expression basically has you loosely functioning in the space where you're able to explore anywhere at any time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it all ties in.
Sure. Put a bow on that.
Yeah, we'll put a bow on that. But yeah. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.